Hello, welcome to Mending Threads. This is your safe place and your stronghold for whole body wellness. This is a transformation series that whatever topic we have, we're going to focus on mind, body, and spirit. And today we have a topic, but I want to say that we're called to this topic because of what we're seeing in the news, what we read in the paper in terms of our health, and pervasive attitudes about health that are required and needed. And we must focus on this from a serious perspective and could have fun at the same time. So we have with us our own Dr. Floyd Atkins from the Center for Wellness and Healing, who always brings us something. He brings us something to give us a different way of looking at our topics. Today, we're going to look at health and conscious choices that we make. Um, and I want you to go to Culture Vision TV, download the app at 7 p.m. in the evening. Download the app and be able to look at Mending Threads in the evening at 7 p.m. And I'll look forward to that. We do go Facebook Live, so if you're on, you may ask us questions, and we should put it in the chat. We'll be able to hear your questions in the chat or see them. So I'm going to bring Dr. Floyd Atkins from the Center for Wellness and Healing.
Good
Good
morning, Dr.
morning.
Lewis.
I know it's morning now. Our audience will see it on Culture Vision TV at 7 p.m., but our morning audience is on Facebook. So I can legally say good morning. Mhm.
Yes.
So look, we know we had our previous topic this week, and people are invited to go on the website and ask to us to get them on Saturday Morning Wellness. But we talked about the how different things can affect the immune system and whatever, and that there's so many things floating around us that are here or there. And I think today we're going to have a specific topic on what we're not paying attention to, in the air or in our water. Can you enlighten us to the importance of that?
Yes. First of all, I would just like to again reiterate what we talked about on Saturday Wellness was the fact that immunity is so important. In these days and times, Dr. Lewis, we really have to focus on what can we do to take care of our own selves. We know
Mhm.
that we have a healthcare system in this country, but at the current time, our healthcare system is overwhelmed. Doctors are leaving the healthcare system, nurses are leaving the healthcare
Mhm.
system, and the system itself is overburdened with just with the pandemics, with everything that's going on, with the crush of, I guess, inflation in the with the diabetes, with high blood pressure, with so many chronic diseases just exacerbating all over the country. And so there's so many things crushing the healthcare system right now. So, we don't want to just look only to the healthcare system to be our savior when it comes to this, but if we can do things proactively. One of my what I've always advocated was us being proactive or operating in prevention. That prevention is a way that we can alleviate a lot of problems before they ever get started, and by doing that, we eliminate the option for having to use our healthcare system. Our healthcare system should be used in case when we have exhausted all of the possibilities when it comes to
Mhm.
taking care of our health. We don't want to wait till the last minute till
Mhm.
we can't take another step and then run to the doctor because
Yes.
again, it's difficult for them to help us. And number one, we have to think about helping ourselves. And that's what that last topic on immunity was all about what do we do to help ourselves?
I know we're getting a lot of questions. I need you to, will you please send
Hmm.
me in the email your website or where they can order the, you suggested that people get this that had all of some health powder or something like that, or immune
Yeah, there were
building
a couple of
system.
yeah, the
Mhm.
immunity building products and things that stimulate immunity. Because if you do those things, whether, like I said, again, whether you vaccinate or not, or whether you take the winter flu vaccine, the annual flu vaccine, whatever you take, you still want to give your body the best opportunity. The stronger your immune
Mhm.
system is, the more effective the other options you take will be also. So it's not to say just don't do anything else, but you have to do something. So yeah, I will be able. I will be happy to give you the website for
Right.
the product. One product I mentioned, Winter Blend, which I think everyone should be taking at this time because the viruses this winter, the flu influenza is really strong this winter, and it's really hitting a lot of people. We get calls about that
Hmm.
every day.
Yeah, there were
So
two of them, and I know that we had three people to call me, text me, and ask me to make sure to get that, and then I'll have to encourage them to go onto your website as well.
I'll
Mhm.
be sure to send you the links to that.
Okay, then. And I wanted to touch base with something you asked me this past
Hmm.
week. I was keeping a diary. So this
Yes.
is what I want people to pay attention to. So sometimes when you start presenting, I want people to pay attention to what they know and what they do.
Hmm.
Like when I was doing my journal, writing down things, I realized that I know to eat more vegetables, but when I wrote it down, I went according to my habit of time.
Yes.
See, in other words, so sometimes when we are listening, whatever you present today, we need to begin to think about what we know and what we do, and
Yes.
what is it that we need to put our knowledge into our actions. So, and I'll
Yes.
share with you later on. I'll share with you what I came up with that I have to do. Okay,
Okay.
then.
Well, that's a key factor too, because a lot of people in their minds they say to me, "I eat healthy, or I do pretty good, or I eat pretty well." But when I have them write it down on paper, what did you eat today? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What did you eat yesterday?
Mhm.
What did you eat 2 days before? And they write it down and look at it, and they realize they're not eating the way they think they're eating in their minds. They say, "Well, I eat salads," but when you look at the list, you may not have had one salad this week. And my
Right,
recommendation is at least 2 to 3 salads a day
a
because those
day.
are the live, healthy
Hmm.
foods. You get the nutrients you need for your body. Even
Hmm.
when it comes to eating more vegetables or fruits as opposed to carbohydrates, people are not eating as many fruits or vegetables they think they're eating, or either their balance is out of balance because they're eating too much of one thing and not enough of the other thing. So it's good to write it down. And I guess the way you put it, you said, people, how did you say it? People think what they're eating, but
Right. See, in other words, you know what to eat, but it is not that
yes,
what it is that you know is that what you do.
is
So
exactly
I
what you
made a
actually do.
note. I made a note to talk about that on our next Saturday thing to
Right,
have people write down what they know and
right,
believe and what it is that
right,
they did. Hmm.
right. So yeah, people know because they get information. They have many sources of information about what we should eat and how we should eat. You want to get good information, but people have that information, but again, it doesn't always translate in what they do. So
And
we
how
got
do
to
you
work on
fall
that
off the
more.
wagon? Yes. So
Right, how to
we'll
follow the
talk
way.
about how
Yeah.
you fall off the wagon too. So what if
And
hmm
what's that? And me for me, journaling or writing it down was always not important until I started doing it
Right.
myself, and I started
That's
saying,
right.
"Wow, my goal is to eat 75% raw." And when I journal it, I said, "Well, I'm only eating 60% raw because I need to increase my raw every day." But it's a motivator that says, "Oh, I need to increase. I need to eat more raw in my meals." And so it's a good thing when it comes to discipline.
Hmm. Very good. I like that we're going to talk about that word too, discipline. Hmm.
Discipline, yes, discipleship. So, what I want to talk about today, I've been working on a series that I'm doing called "In the Roots" of the little things that we, like you mentioned in the beginning of the show here, that we do that we overlook. The little things you overlook in your life every day that can make a huge impact on how we feel and how we operate. So,
Hmm.
we're going to go into the elephant in the room today, and let me pull my screen up, and we'll get started with it. And let me see here. Let me know when you can see my screen here.
Hmm. I can see it.
Okay, let's start at the beginning of the slide. Okay, the elephant in the room today is the water you drink. Can you see that?
I can see that.
Okay, and basically, water is something that we drink every day. We prepare our food with it. We shower in it. We bathe in it. We do things in it, but we don't really think about how important it is in our life. And I'm going to cover a few slides just to emphasize or to reemphasize to people how important water is because we take it for granted. We have some people,
Mhm.
I guess, on our show on last Saturday says, well, I don't like drinking water. I just can't drink water. I don't like the way it tastes. But it doesn't matter how it tastes. You number one, you do have to drink healthy water. Water shouldn't have a taste first of all. So if it has a taste, then
Mhm.
your water's probably not clean like it should be. And then number two, you want to make sure that you drink it because your body is 60 to 70% water itself on an average. And we're going to talk about that
Mhm.
too. And so we're going to start on these slides here. And I'm going to highlight a couple of things that people should understand about water. Water in your bloodstream is 83% of the bloodstream is water. So when you talk about blood, you have blood cells, and then you have blood plasma, and then the rest of it is water that transports those blood cells, those red blood cells, those white blood cells throughout your body. It says your kidneys are 83% water. Well, kidney is an organ that's primarily designed to filter water and things in your system. So we want to understand that by filtering water it's necessary to have water so the kidneys to operate properly. Liver is 80%, 86% water. Our connective tissue, and those are the tissues in our body that connect our joints and our muscles, our skin. It connects all the different areas of our body. It's 60% water. Skin is 70% water. Very, very important because it's an area for hydration. Bones, 22% water. Excuse me. You don't think of the bones having water, but the bones definitely have water. And fat is even 20% water. So for fat to be able to function properly, it needs a certain amount of water. Muscles, 76% water. And finally, the brain. The brain is 75% water. And that's a key factor. We're going to talk about that just now.
Mhm.
Now, why our body needs water? And I'm going to list some points here. We're going to discuss them. But hopefully, when people say they don't like water, you have to realize how important the water is in your life. So, water, number one, lubricates joints. So, the
Mhm.
cartilage, uh, uh, it's found in cartilage and the joints in your disc, in your spine, and your vertebrae, and your knees, your elbows. All the joints have cartilage. It's 80% water. Water is there to provide shock absorption and provide lubrication to joints. So if you're dehydrated and you don't have enough water in your system, then you don't get the shock absorbing quality that cartilage can provide because it doesn't have the water. You don't have protection
Mhm.
from joints. Your joints are not well lubricated, so you tend to have joint inflammation, which we refer to as arthritis. Um, so again, water excellent for lubrication. Number two, the
How
same thing.
can Dr. Atkins? How can one? What are some signs, or how can one tell when they're not getting enough water?
The number one sign is joint pain or joint inflammation. When you do some exercise, you work out, and your joints, your knees feel sore, where you have to rub your knees, or people want to put liniment on their joints. If you have any knee cracking or knee popping or elbow, your bones crack or pops, people say that, and to me, that's a bad thing because that means you need more lubrication. But the number one sign again is inflammation. When your joints get inflamed, you start having joint pain, whether it's in your back or your spine. I mean, or your upper spine, lower spine, knees,
Mhm.
elbows, and even hips. So so joint inflammation is number one sign that you need more water. Um, Water helps form saliva and mucus in our body. And we have to know how important saliva is and mucus because saliva is important when it comes to digestion. Your saliva has digestive enzymes that help digest your food, especially sugars once they go into your mouth. And if you don't have a adequate amount of water, you don't have enough saliva, people have dry mouth, the digestive process doesn't start where it's supposed to start, which is in your mouth. And so then food goes into your stomach undigested. And that's the beginning of a problem right there, just
Mhm.
undigested food. And mucus,
Mhm.
again, we hear conditions like dry eyes, dry nose, dry mouth.
Mhm.
Excuse my slides, I have a program. But anyway, uh, so we need the mucus, we need water for those things. It says it prevents friction and damage to parts of our organs. We get itchy eyes or dry eyes, and it feels like sand is in your eyes. That's because there's no lubrication there, and it's like tissues are rubbing against tissues, causing friction. Water delivers
That's a good
oxygen.
point. That's a
Yes.
good point that we don't want to skip over too fast because I saw something on the news that it can affect when people visit their physician, that they
Yes.
seldom describe it to their doctor. They don't talk about what they're drinking, the water that they're drinking, so they think it's a vision problem.
Yes, exactly. And you need that hydration for your eyes and for everything to work properly. And people don't really realize that. And so so even in healthcare, our first step would be say, how do we solve the underlying problem? So hopefully your doctor will, the first thing we say is, well, let's look at your water intake, because water is responsible
Hmm.
for all of these things. It
Hmm.
says to deliver oxygen throughout your body. Blood is more than 90% water, and the essentials in oxygen is essential in oxygen to getting oxygen to different parts of the body. So without the blood flow, without the amount of water in your bloodstream, it doesn't work as efficiently. And so then we don't get hydrated, we don't get oxygenated as well. Without the oxygen, we don't
Hmm.
have the level of energy that we need to have. It says water boosts the skin's health and beauty. And it's a key, again, this is a key one that should resonate with everyone. Um, with dehydration, the skin can become more vulnerable to skin disorders and premature wrinkling. So that means if you're dehydrated, you'll tend to have more wrinkles than when you are hydrated. If you have chronic
Hmm.
dehydration, those wrinkles will form and they won't go away as easily as just by drinking water. But a lot of young people and actresses and entertainers know in the world, before they go on stage, before they do filming, they drink tons and tons of water to hydrate well, because it helps fill your skin out. It helps hydrate your body, and you'll look better. So water is
Hmm.
important just for the health, just from a health purpose. So it's not only
Hmm.
has a biological or health reason, but you have, I call it the beauty reasons also to drink water.
Hmm.
Number four. Now, this is something that we don't think about either, but the importance of water, that it cushions the brain, it cushions the spinal cord, and all other sensitive tissues in your body. It's like jumping into a swimming pool. If you jumped off of a second floor building or off of a platform onto the ground, it would really hurt you. That's shock absorption. But when you jump into a pool of water, the water actually cushions your fall, and it's not harmful to your health to jump in the water. And it's the same way the water's in our body when we're moving around. We need to cushion our brain, we need to cushion our spinal cord and our tissues, our liver, our kidneys, all our internal organs, and that's what water does. But when you're dehydrated, your brain structure, your it affects your brain differently, because your brain is not as it's not as cushioned as it should be, and it can interfere with the function. Uh, um, it's also involved in the production of hormones and neurotransmitters. So you need that water to be able to move hormones around, to be able to move neurotransmitters around as they work. Prolonged dehydration can lead to problems with thinking and reasoning. So now we're seeing
Hmm.
how water will affect mental health. So
Hmm.
we don't think properly, so we don't always make good choices. We don't
Hmm.
reason properly, so we again make choices that are not to our own benefit, or make choices that have no meaning. But you always want to make good choices. So water is important to hydrate. Um,
And
it
there's
re-
some literature that you're speaking about that I saw in one of the journals this past week, that they're looking at that higher indices of alcoholism, like
yes,
alcoholism in the brain fluid. Hmm.
yes, and
That
and
brings
and,
on
and
anger, and
again,
anger brings on anger, violence, and etc. Hmm.
right. And see, part of that people don't realize is when you drink alcohol, it dehydrates you. It actually pulls water out of your system,
Yes.
especially
Hmm.
things like beer. So not only is the alcohol affecting you, but the dehydration that's happening in your brain is affecting you also. So there's two things that are two negatives when it comes to especially drinking alcohol or excessive alcohol. Um, Water helps regulate body temperature. This is a key factor here, that our body temperature has to be regulated very critically. Sweating, um, when we sweat, as the sweat evaporates, it cools our body off. So that helps maintain body fluid. It's like when you go out and work out and you get a sweat going, and then you sit down, and when you sweat, it kind of cools the body temperature off. And that's the one body regulation mechanism to help us from being overheated. If we're dehydrated, it causes heat to store in our body, or the heat stores increase. We get hotter than we
Hmm.
should if we're dehydrated, which leads to things like heat exhaustion or heat stroke. That's why when people go out there doing marathons or jogging, you always have to hydrate before you start your exercise. It's always better to do that way so your body won't run short of water during the exercise. Because if that happens and you get dehydrated while you're working out, you may not feel it. You don't feel the dehydration until 15 to 20 minutes after you become dehydrated. And then before you know it, you're having headaches or you get nausea, throwing up. Those are the signs of heat exhaustion or heat stroke. So
So
you
what
want
I
to make
wanted
sure.
to ask you, since you were
Mhm,
talking about how it helps the body to get rid of certain things, and the fluid within the body and the water, and it flushes the body.
mhm.
What are your thoughts about this new cream, deodorant cream for the whole body that you put on, and it keeps perspiration down and odor down that you're putting. The woman comes on and she's very graphic about places where you can put this cream.
I haven't seen that commercial.
You
I
haven't?
have
Oh,
Yeah, but what I want to say about that, when you put on creams or deodorants that have what they call an antiperspirant in them, and that's usually what they
mhm.
are, and I'm gonna investigate that. But antiperspirants do exactly that. They stop you from perspiring. So perspiring is a normal body function to be able to, number one, eliminate toxins, and number two, to help you regulate your body temperature. So when you use those things, you don't perspire. You're actually blocking your putting limits on the way your body is trying to protect itself. So I don't
Right.
agree with using. I tell people even with regular deodorants, we don't want to use antiperspirants. You want to use a thing that kills odor, and odor is caused by bacteria, but you don't want to use the antiperspirant to stop your glands from perspiring, because once you do that, you can't detoxify, and those toxins just build up in your system, and you become more toxic. So,
Yes.
and then if you have to put on something over your entire body to control these things, I have to go back to the old-fashioned way. Then that means we need to shower or bathe more often. We need to do things that keep our body naturally clean rather than trying to put on some
Mhm.
chemicals, and I don't know what's in it or what chemicals might be in the product that she's using. That number one, they absorb into your skin, into your body. Uh, uh, the statistic is that 40% of what you put on your skin absorbs directly into your bloodstream. So whatever
Mm.
chemicals in that process, you're going to get those directly into your bloodstream, and that may or may not be good. Usually, it has any synthetic ingredients in it, if it has any preservatives in it, is it have any artificial colors or artificial dyes in it, I wouldn't want to put it
Mhm.
on my body, because again, those are things that are not natural to our human body.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, with water, it's important because our digestive system depends on water. And number one thing I say, one of the number one problems in America today is constipation. And constipation is directly related to the amount of water we drink. To have
Mhm.
proper bowel function, we have to drink an adequate amount of water. With dehydration, it leads to constipation. It's going to lead to an overly acidic stomach, because we don't have enough water to to be able to manufacture proper acid in our stomach. If our acid is too concentrated because we don't drink enough water, again, we run the risk of having heartburn, which is gastritis when we eat, and then we'll develop stomach ulcers. So you can see how one thing snowballs into another thing.
Last
Yeah,
affects the other one. So
yeah,
on that constipation situation, so
hmm
doesn't it have a lot to do with the fiber that you're
absolutely.
mixed
But
with the
see,
water? Hmm.
mixed with the water. But the main thing with fiber, people eat fiber, but they still don't drink the water.
I see.
Fiber absorbs water. A fiber can absorb 3 to 4 times its own weight in water, so it absorbs a lot of water. So the water and the fiber together is number one what's helped us eliminate constipation. It makes our stool more bulky. It gives us more softness to our stools. But the fiber is there to pull water. But if you don't drink the water, then the fiber is not going to work. The fiber can actually constipate you more. That's why
Well,
with
that's
some
good.
products like
That's a good
yeah,
point. Hmm.
some problems like psyllium seed people want to take, or Metamucil, which has some psyllium in it. If you take that without water, and on the label it says drink at least 8 or 16 ounces or 2 glasses, a full glass of water when you take it, because you need that water for the fiber to work properly. But
And I
yes,
remember Dr. Pam made a note on one time that make sure if you do that that you choose something that doesn't have sugar in it, added sugar,
absolutely.
sweetener. Hmm.
Absolutely. People are always looking for taste, but fiber doesn't really have any taste. So I don't know why they feel the need
Right.
to sweeten it. I guess they can encourage
Hmm.
more people to eat it if it's sweet. But yeah, you want to leave the sugar out. Water flushes body waste. This is one that's pretty self-explaining. That when you drink
Mhm.
water, through sweating, you're going to eliminate toxins out of your body, but also it gets your kidneys to flowing and urine and feces. So the water will help us not be constipated. We can eliminate through our bowel, and then we can also eliminate through urine excretion. And those two are very important because the more you detoxify, the better you're going to feel, the healthier you're going to be.
Mhm.
Number 9 says water helps maintain blood pressure. And people don't really think about that. About, we fight our blood pressure. Some people say, my blood pressure is always high. I'm trying to control my blood pressure and taking one or two medications, their blood pressure is out of control. But again, they don't know how lack of water makes your blood become thicker. And when your blood becomes thicker, it gets to become much more harder to push through our circulatory system. And if it's
Mhm.
difficult to go through our circulatory system, our heart's going to beat harder trying to push it through there.
Mhm.
So the higher the more dehydrated you are, the thicker your blood is, and the higher your blood pressure is going to be. So it won't matter what blood pressure medicine you take, your heart is going to try to get that blood throughout your body. So it's going to beat harder, and your pressure is going to go up. A-
Mhm.
And then also a reverse thing can happen, that if your blood pressure is um, too low, it can actually that comes low from being dehydrated. You don't have enough fluid in your system, and your blood pressure falls too low. Then you become woozy and you can pass out. So dehydration is what makes people dizzy and pass out when they get super dehydrated, because their blood pressure falls too low that they can't maintain consciousness. So
Mhm. That's
so
something that
either
we really need to start emphasizing on Saturdays because we have quite a few seniors there as well that have complained of that. And
yeah,
people.
and so I think it would be a good idea that once you do your we do our meditation, we do our mantras where we make our confessions with water, or have their 8 ounce glass of water, and we all drink a glass of water together, because that way we'll
Mhm.
hydrate our brains and maybe we can receive the information much better. So a part of
That's
our
right. Oh, that's
routine of
good.
getting
That's
prepared
good.
for that, yeah,
Mhm.
have everybody say, get your a bottle of water, at least 12 ounces of water, and we'll drink half of it when we first start and wait a few minutes to drink the other half. I don't want to drink it all at one time. Everybody has to run to the bathroom, but but at least we can have a program to include water drinking as a part of your daily routine. And
Yes,
so,
yes. I would like to
so
do that. And I also, when we get started on the groups or whatever, but also, I
yeah,
guess they're reminding people to do their blood pressure,
yes,
you know. Hmm.
okay. And number 10 says minerals and nutrients. Water makes minerals and nutrients accessible. You know, that's why it's not a good idea to take pills on an empty stomach, or maybe, excuse me, without water. Some people want to take pills and just swallow them. They take tablets and swallow them. They take their medications and swallow them. But again, we need water to dissolve these nutrients and the minerals that we take, so they can get into our blood system and get to where they need to get to. So if you don't have the water, again, you're restricting yourself from optimal health. Uh, Water prevents kidney damage, and that's as simple and straightforward. If you don't drink a sufficient amount of water, that you can develop problems like kidney stones, other even early what we call renal insufficiency, where your kidneys are not functioning properly because they need water to be able to function properly. They need to keep fluid in the system. If the system goes dry, then they start deteriorating. They start having problems. So you always want to make sure that you're drinking adequate amount of water to operate good kidney health. And something that people don't really consider, that water boosts energy and boosts your endurance when it comes to exercise. And
Hmm.
this is a thing I didn't really think about myself, that if you drink water, you're not drinking it just for hydration, you're drinking it for energy. Drinking water throughout the day
Hmm.
helps boost energy levels, because it staves off periods of drowsiness and fatigue. So, if you're not drinking water during the day, if you go all morning don't drink any water, you're in a dehydrated state, and you're going to tend to be more drowsy, fatigued. You can't sit through a meeting without drifting out, or you can't concentrate.
Hmm.
Dehydration reduces performance in physical activities that last longer than 30 minutes. So if you're going to go out and you don't hydrate before you start, uh, you can't perform, you can't uh, get in as much exercise or activity as you normally would. So to be to be able to perform well and get your exercise in every day, again, water is
Mhm.
key factor. And then
Mhm.
lastly, uh, water helps with weight loss. And people say, how does that happen? Well, the main thing in our society today, rather than drinking water, people like to drink sweet drinks. They like to drink beverages, they like to drink juices, they like to drink sodas, the Cokes and the Pepsis and the Sprites. They drink orange juice and grape juice. They drink apple juice, but they drink everything but water. But when you drink those sweet drinks, they're adding calories to your diet and you're going to gain weight, number one. And then number two, when you drink water, it says drinking water with before meals helps prevent overeating because it creates a sense of fullness. Now, one caveat to that is when you drink water before you eat, it should be at least 60 to 30 minutes before you eat. You're going to have a full glass of water. You don't want to drink 5 minutes before you eat because if you're eating a food that has carbohydrates in it or not a lot of fresh greens, the you dilute your stomach acid and you don't well. A lot of times we encourage people not while you're eating, don't drink fluids while you eat. You want to drink, 30 minutes before or 2 hours
You need
after
to
or hour, at
you need
least an
to
hour
repeat.
after.
You need to repeat that for that reason, because
Hmm.
we had a discussion on that. So it is a length of time, maybe approximate time, that you should drink the water before your meals, and then explain that just in when you're eating, not drinking the water. Hmm.
Yes. Well, again, when you're going to eat food, you always want to drink at least 30 minutes before you eat because it takes about 15 to 30 minutes and the water you drink will be absorbed into your bloodstream. It won't be in your stomach. But if you drink it 5 minutes before you eat something in the stomach, your stomach is going to secrete a certain amount of acid to digest your food you're eating. And then if your water has, 12, 15 ounces of water in it, the acid is secreted is going to be dilute and it can't break down things like any animal protein. It can't break down some of the carbohydrates. It can't break down some of the starches like it needs to. But, uh, and so then if you drink during the time you're eating, again, you're diluting the acid, and your food won't digest properly. You won't get the complete nutrient value out of the food, and the food won't assimilate, which means it won't be in a form where your colon and your small intestine can absorb it. So you're
Hmm.
eating food, but you're not getting the nutrition because the process is not going according to the way they should. And then so after you eat, you want to give your body at least an hour to 2 hours for it to finish digestion. Most meals that people eat that don't include animal protein, especially red meat, can digest in 1 to 2 hours after you eat. If you eat meat in your diet, it might take up to 2 to 3 to 4 hours to completely digest that meat meal. And so, drinking water and meat requires acidity from the stomach to be able to digest the meat. And if you drink your water with the meat meal, all you're doing is slowing down the whole process, and you cause what we call putrefaction. You cause your stomach, the meat actually spoils in your stomach because it takes so long. It's in your system 3 or 4 hours, preventing digestion. So we want to make sure that we don't drink anything 30 minutes before we eat. We don't want to drink anything during the time we eat. If you are eating a meal that you can maybe take a sip of water to wet your mouth if you need to do that, but you don't want to drink a significant amount of water during the time you're eating.
Hmm.
And then after you eat, you want to give yourself a time period for your food to completely digest before you start drinking again. So yeah, those are very important steps when it comes to digestion, when it comes to being
Now that
able to.
makes sense why your parents were telling you, don't eat and drink at the same time. They used to
Yeah.
saying it just might go down the wrong place. I can
Yes,
remember them telling us that, eat your food and then drink.
yes, and that's the proper way to do it. But our society changes that because even when we see commercials on TV, they always include the food or the drink, whether it's a soda, a beverage. You see a McDonald's commercial, they're gonna have a 16-ounce cup of soda along with a Happy Meal or a burger and fries. And that whole combination together is very bad because you're eating meat, you're eating bread protein, you're eating all these things. Now, for a person who's a vegetarian or plant-based person, they're eating more of a live, raw diet,
Hmm.
less animal protein. they don't require a lot of acidic in their stomach, acid in their stomach to be able to digest food. The natural enzymes and in the foods you eat will digest the food you eat. So they
Mhm.
can afford to drink a little bit more water and not have to worry about so much with digestion because, again, vegetables, bananas, apples, lettuces, and greens, they don't require acid to digest them, to digest that food. So, and see, most of them have water in them in the first place, so it's not a big issue.
Mhm.
But when you're eating
Mhm.
things like carbohydrates, which is bread, which is cereal, which is potatoes and things like that, or you're eating animal protein like meat or chicken, even fish. Fish is a little bit more digestible, but again, they require stomach acid to be able to digest those foods properly. So you have to cut back on the meat.
Mhm.
So I want to cover those topics there to keep it to really understand that water is vital in our lives. So whether we're trying to control blood pressure, whether we're trying to get our optimal health through nutrition, whether we're trying to protect our kidneys, whether we want to have more endurance and more energy throughout the day, whether we want to lose
Mhm.
weight, whether we want to make sure our digestion is working properly, whether we want to detoxify, that's flushing our bodies and flushing waste out of our systems, keeping our joints lubricated, making sure our body is oxygenated well. All these things are important. Is a part of the importance of drinking water. Now, there's some other things I could go over today, but I really want to cover those topics. I have some more information on water. I don't know if we have time for that, but I really want
Well,
to
I was going
emphasize
to
on.
ask you if you could just, since everybody's going to rush out after we talk and get
Mhm.
water, you did state on Saturday that that there was a particular amount to determine how much water you should have per day, and
Yeah.
then you wanted to talk about what to pay attention if you're buying your water. Um,
Yeah. Well, I'm cover these couple of slides here, and because
mhm.
this is all, it's been in the headlines. We've heard so much in the
Yes,
last couple of years about
yes.
Flint, Michigan, and about
Mhm.
how toxic the water is, and people think
And
these things are
even
so
here in
horrible in
Houston,
Flint.
they've been talking about it here in Houston
Yeah. Well,
about
and that's the key. That's the key point. That it's not just Flint, Michigan. It's Houston, Texas. It's
right.
Jackson, Mississippi. It's
Mhm.
Baltimore, Maryland. It's New Jersey. It's in Newark, New Jersey, and Trenton, New Jersey. All these places right now, they're boiling water because the water is contaminated, and even people in other parts of the country are drinking their water, not realizing how contaminated their water is. And that's why I use this
Mhm.
slide right here to show that there are over 260 chemicals in drinking water in over 42 states. So all these states, we have 50 states in the union, and 42 of them have chemicals in the drinking water that's hazardous to our health. 45 million Americans in the U.S. have pharmaceuticals in their drinking water. So when people take blood pressure medication or they medication get old and they flush it down the toilet, they flush it into our water systems, but our water treatment plants don't remove those pharmaceuticals out of the water. They have no way to do that. They remove some particulate matter out of the water. They remove some of the odor and taste out of the water, the bad taste and the odor out of the water, and a few of the chemicals, but not the pharmaceuticals. We see it in water when they test water; they find it in pharmaceuticals all the time. Every state east of the Mississippi River is under reports, and it says under reports the heavy metals in the water. So those are metals like
Yes.
mercury, like lead,
Mhm.
like cadmium, like aluminum. There are so many metals in the water, they just unreported because if they reported them, they would have to shut the water plants down. So they just don't report it. And that was
Mhm.
done by some research data that some investigative work that people did. Even KHOU in Houston did a whole story on the water in Houston talking about the radioactive particles found in groundwater in Houston, in
Yes.
areas like Jersey City, in the Chasewood area of Sugar Land area, in Missouri City area. They found
Mhm.
high radioactive particles in the water, and there's nothing they can do about it. It comes from groundwater. So these are things we need to know about, so we know that this is not just something we take for granted.
So are you saying that
Unintended.
you're saying what you're saying is that even filtering the water, you can buy those filters, even filtering the water necessarily will not I
No.
guess it will relieve some of it, but it will really not cure. It would not take care of the situation.
Yeah. Filtered water gets things like this. It gets a fluoride out of the water, it gets chlorine out of the water, it gets what we call particulate matter out of the water, it gets some of the sulfur out of the water, it gives the water a bad smell or a bad taste. That water has high sulfur content. It removes those things. But when it comes to like chromium 6 or dioxins or organophosphates, the cleaning fluids, all those kind of things, or pharmaceuticals, those filters have no way of doing that. Like I said, there's one system I promoted that I've been promoting for years. I use it myself and have it in my household because I know that it removes over 249 different chemicals out of the water, and especially those ones that's more prevalent in the water. And I'll cover that for our audience just one moment. But I want to talk about fluorine in the water. That's one thing. Also, chlorine in the water. We chlorinate the water to keep it healthy, but chlorine is a chemical that's toxic to health, but it kills bacteria in the water. Of course, they say we only use a small amount, so many parts per billion, but we know that chlorinated water has been linked to respiratory disease like asthma. So when we see our kids and children, when we see the asthma rates going up in America, we have to know that there must be some associated with the chlorine in the water. Chlorine in swimming pools, chlorine, we come in contact with so many places. That's one reason that we see people who put swimming pools in their home now are resorting to saltwater pools rather than chlorine pools because number one, they're less expensive to operate, and number two, you're not chlorinating your body every day. The
Right.
third thing on this list, it says chlorine displaces iodine. Iodine
Mhm.
is optimal, is important in our body for hormonal health, for our thyroid function to work properly. If we have not enough iodine, then we operate in a hypo or underfunctioning thyroid, hypothyroidism. And with that, it makes it more easy to gain weight, harder to lose weight, energy levels fall down. And so many things happen when we displace iodine. So people are chronically exposed to a lot of chlorine. Uh, should be supplementing with some iodine product that will help alleviate that condition. In tap water, this is what we drink in our home. You can after you filter the water, our water filters. Okay, tap water says these are the list of ingredient chemicals and things that's found in tap water. Now, out of all these things, the chlorine, the fluorine, the lead, the arsenic, aluminum, mercury, chromium 6, pathogens, those are
Oh,
harmful
wow.
bacteria. Chloramines, that's a chlorine derivative. Volatile organic compounds, they come out of cleaning fluid and things like that. The
Oh, my
pesticides,
goodness.
detergents, pharmaceuticals, agricultural chemicals, industrial waste. That's the runoff that we get from our chemical plants, our industrial plants, our petroleum plants, all those kind of things. But when we put a filter on our water to water our filter at home, we remove chlorine, we remove fluorine, we reduce the amount of lead, we reduce the amount of arsenic, but it doesn't relieve all of it. It doesn't really touch mercury. It doesn't touch chromium 6. It doesn't touch the pathogens. Sometimes people have an ultraviolet filter that has ultraviolet light to kill some bacteria in water.
Mhm.
The volatile organic compounds, it doesn't remove that. Pesticides, that's the pesticides from our food. Our home filter system don't remove pesticides. Detergents, it doesn't remove pharmaceuticals. Any of those things, they don't remove it. Agricultural chemicals, no, because those are much more powerful chemicals, and a Brita filter cannot remove those things.
Mhm. So,
Um,
Dr. Atkins, so one of the things that's that'll be for another topic, but
mhm.
as you mentioned, all of those, most of those have been found with memory problems and Alzheimer's. Is it Alzheimer's? Yes,
Yeah,
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's,
I think I read. Mhm.
Alzheimer's, memory
Mhm.
problems, Parkinson's is another one.
Yes, yes, the other.
And
Mhm.
that's mostly with the metals. That's the lead, the arsenic, the aluminum. Aluminum has been directly associated with increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. They did
Yes.
autopsies on the brains of people who died from Alzheimer's disease and found that they had 6 times more aluminum metal in their brains than a person who didn't have Alzheimer's disease. So the conclusion is that it's highly likely that increased aluminum content in those people cause them to have develop Alzheimer's as opposed to just regular senile dementia.
And it would seem
So
like that there would be an earlier prescription or instruction for people who, or when they're in the early stages, to really take all of that out of their system, out of the water, and require them. The doctors, would require them to change their water and get their air filtered,
well,
things like that.
It would be, except the doctors are not educated on the fact that I mean, they might read a report, but most doctors who are practicing in practice are not aware of a correlation between aluminum and Alzheimer's disease, because you're
Right,
not taught
right.
that. They're taught that if you get Alzheimer's disease, there are prescription medications that they give people to slow it down,
To slow it down.
but you never get to the underlying cause. Yeah, and and, and one place we see more Alzheimer's, I think, because the biggest source of aluminum in our society is two things. There's aluminum cookware that came in the 80s and 90s before stainless steel got popular. And number two was underarm deodorants like Sure, like Mitchum, like Secret, because they
Yes.
have a chemical in them called aluminum chlorhydrate. Aluminum chlorhydrate is the antiperspirant. It stops you from perspiring, but you also put aluminum under your arms every day. The aluminum goes into your bloodstream, it circulates to your body,
Wow.
it deposits in your
Mhm.
brain, and then then you, the one of the people, got 6 times more aluminum in your body. So how are we getting aluminum in our body? The other way, if you're eating off of cookware, a lot of the Teflon cookware, when the coating wears off the Teflon cookware, you're exposing your food to aluminum ions. So you're eating aluminum and you're putting on your skin. So therefore, you just increase
Mhm.
your risk for Alzheimer's disease. And see, this
Yeah.
disease in the 1980s and 1970s, people got old and got senile, got dementia, but Alzheimer's was not a thing. And in the last
Uh-huh.
20, 30 years, we have Alzheimer's Society, we have Alzheimer's everything,
Yes.
because it's a big problem. But you know,
Mm.
my grandparents, parents before, they would get senile, they would be old, but they'd be aware of their surrounding. They get where they didn't recognize people, or didn't know where they were, didn't know they were in the world, or didn't recognize their children, didn't recognize their spouses. See, that's a different condition, and
Yes.
it shows me that your brain has been affected some way where your memory is completely gone, where you don't
Mm.
the ability to recognize a person.
Right.
You can
Yes.
forget dates and times and not remember people's
Mhm.
names, but when you have not the ability to be able to recognize how a person looks like, or be able to put the features together and say, oh, this is my daughter, oh, this is my husband, that's
Yes.
something totally different.
Mm.
So those are things that we need to look at and not take for granted, because these things are not happening by accident.
Mhm.
Everything that goes on in our life and our society has an underlying factor, has a cause. And so when we look at the cause, then we can prevent it, once we know what the causes are.
I can
Uh,
remember maybe, and I don't want to date myself, but I'm not trying to date you either. But I can remember when you spoke of something that's people are becoming aware of now. You spoke of it maybe like back in 2002 to during some training for one of the companies that we were working with, and you
uh-huh.
spoke of using vinegar as opposed to Clorox and other cleaning things. And now I'm
Yeah.
seeing a prevalence of people beginning to be aware that you can mix certain things together, like baking soda and vinegar, and you can clean things probably even better than
Yes.
many of the chemical products. You see,
Right.
and so, hmm
Yeah,
so
and we did, and maybe we need to revisit that. I have a whole presentation on how to create a non-toxic
toxic
household.
home. That's
Yeah,
right.
by eliminating cleaning supplies, and
Hmm.
using that, because those things contribute to our health risk when it comes to disease and dysfunction. Uh, and
Hmm.
this list here, I'm going to finish up with this. The main contaminants in our water, again, when we drink water that comes through our taps, the main contaminants in our water are petroleum products, which are gasoline residues. They did a big research study out in Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Las Vegas, and Nevada, that they found a lot of jet fuel in the water. They test the water, even drinking water has a small amount of jet fuel in the water, because they do so much testing out in the desert out there when it comes to um, military things. The same thing that's going on in Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. You hear on the TV commercials
Yes,
where it
yes,
says, if you were at Camp Lejeune in the 80s, you were exposed to all these chemicals. And again, it was because of the military base and what the military was doing, but it contaminated the water source in that area, and it was actually harming all the people, all our military personnel. You
yes.
know, and it's unfortunate that the government kept it all a secret so long, because they didn't want the liability that comes along with that.
So
But
my thing
but
was,
again,
if it's there and they still have people there, it would seem that below the ground, that the water would still be contaminated even now.
Well, they did shut it down. I don't know what they're doing at it. The base is still there. They're just storing things there, but I don't think people are living there right now because they had, they had
Hmm.
housing for military. They had everything there. I don't know the status, but since 2002, they kind of shut it down from a place where the military personnel live, or
Hmm.
either they moved it to a different location or something. But I do hear people all the time talking about that. A couple of the slides here is that organophosphates. Organophosphates are the pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. So when you spray
Hmm.
a bug killer or ant killer and all these things in your household, you that residue stays in your home for months and weeks and sometimes years. And when you keep reusing them, so you expose yourself, you really get these chemicals through inhaling it, but it also can get it through the water if it gets into your
Hmm.
water system. But when we wash our cleaning products, it still goes back into the municipal water systems, and again, they don't get them out. Uh, the last thing on this page is the prescription drugs. I talked about that before. The Associated
Hmm.
Press investigated and showed that antibiotics, anticonvulsive, mood stabilizers, and sex hormones were the dominant amount of prescription drugs we
Hmm.
found in drinking water across the country. And this was a guest investigative report done by AP Press.
Hmm. This is a
Uh,
real good topic, a real good demonstration topic. I think maybe we should demonstrate this for some groups too, how to test your
yeah,
water. You recommended
yeah.
to me some years ago, and I don't know if you still have the same recommended, but I still using it. You recommended glass bottles and mountain water. So
Yeah,
was it mountain? Hmm.
Mountain Valley water in glass
Yes,
bottles is what I recommend.
yes.
Um, what I really want to uh, recommend is people really invest in a filtering system, because we're at a day and time where you can't depend on your municipal system to provide you clean water. You have to have an at-home source, just like you can't depend on the police department to be there when you need it. When you're at your home, where home is not protected, you need an alarm system at your home. People have alarm systems in their
Yes,
home to let them know
yes.
when somebody's breaking in, but nobody has
Hmm.
alarm system for that water that's coming through your pipes that's breaking into your house, and that water is not any good, and you don't know it. So if you have bad water breaking in your house, you need a system to prevent that. So just like alarm
Hmm.
system for your home, you need an alarm system for your water that you're drinking. And I'm gonna go to the slide now because I know we're getting low on time
Yeah, they
here.
already told me time is up. Hmm.
Yeah. So getting a water ionizer, this is one company that has an ionizer. It's called Alcaviva, and I'm gonna give you information on it. But what it
Okay.
does is it removes pharmaceuticals out of the water. It removes pesticides out of the water, herbicides. It removes
Oh,
chemicals,
wow.
over 249 different chemicals out of the water. It's an investment that we make, but it's for health is so important. And I think we're going to pick up on this next time because I want to talk about it. You can get a whole house system that filters for your whole house, or you can get something just to filter for your drinking water, your cooking water, which is really what people need to start, because it'll make a big difference in your life. So you want to decrease the
Hmm.
risk of becoming sick. Dirty, contaminated water affects your immune system. If your immune system is weak, then you're more susceptible to virus, bacterial, and
Hmm.
all the infections that we get. So it's all tied together. So I'm going to cut it off for
Hmm.
right now.
Oh,
Um,
this is so we're going to follow up with that, and I think we'll probably link something. We need to do a demonstration there. We had quite a few people to ask, and so we'll follow up with that. So
yeah,
I
I have
want
a
to thank you because you did such a wonderful job today. But I want to link it to a refrigerator. Like when you're getting it from your faucets, how do you make sure that your refrigerator filtering system can you connect it? So I got a lot of questions, but I'll write my questions
yeah,
down and
yes,
we'll follow up with that, Nate,
okay,
next time. I do want to thank you for always being on top of everything. And if we want the real deal about health and wellness, we know to call Dr. Floyd Atkins from the Center for Wellness and Healing, and he will have not only had an opinion on it, but he will have researched it and be able to give us the foundation of what we need to read and follow and recommendations. Thank you.
thank you
Okay.
so much.
So everybody, please, we're gonna be we're gonna be thankful again because we do finally have our webinars that are being posted on the website, and everything should be clear for your registration by February the 1st at the latest. And we will have an ongoing series by Dr. Floyd Atkins to look at different topics, and you can study this, and you'll be able to get CEU continuing education credits in terms of for nurses, therapists, counselors, etc. So I want to say this: renew belief, rebuild faith, and reconnect families and communities. For it's not the circumstances you meet, it is the manner in which you respond that determines health, happiness, and success. Have a good week, and I hope to see you same place, same time, same station, God willing. Thank you.